This is Kits and Wagers. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen to talk game week 10 in the Premier League. We got 8 bets for you on the show. We're talking 3 matches. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, make sure to give us a thumbs up on the video on YouTube. But as you can see on the bottom of the screen, we got Wolves, Newcastle, Aston Villa, Luton Town, Manchester City, Manchester United, and the team parlay. Chris, you hit all 3 of your bets of the games we talked about last week. You didn't get your parlay right, but, we'll get the parlay back. But congrats on being 3-0 on all the games we talked about.
Thank you. It was a nice bounce back week last week. I felt, it's all about putting the hard yards in ahead of the show and, really surveying the land of the good bets. And, I put a couple 2-3 together the night before. Felt pretty confident in them. And the one that I'm most pleased about, frankly, is the corners bet, because I make one corner bet, usually one per season, and then I lose it. I'm off of it. But I made one last week and it hit. Arsenal raced to 3 corners against Chelsea. They had 3 before Chelsea had any. So that's what I'm gonna hang my hat on. And we're back to game week 10, so you can't rest on your laurels. I got to get some more right this week.
Yeah, you said you put the hard work in last week. Did you put the hard work in this week, I guess is the question.
The thing about last week is we recorded about 7 a.m. And this is an important note for for those watching the show. Actually, last week it was about 7 a.m. So obviously I'm not going to get up and make my bets at 6 a.m. That's just silly. So I before I went to bed, I made a bunch of bets.
That's what real grinders do.
Yeah, send them to Adam. Actually, now that I think about this is why I was right last week, because I originally had Arsenal money line to Adam. I woke up, I was like, nope, I got to go Arsenal race to 3 corners. So we switched it. So I would have missed that bet actually. But today, we're actually, it's a 6:17 local here on the West Coast. Adam, it's 9:17 local for you on the Fresh Coast. We are actually, I got a nice glass Irish whiskey here. You've got maybe perhaps a cold beverage. I don't know.
Wait, do you still have your Basil Hayden's? Someone brought this up to us, that it's actually not Irish whiskey.
Was it just regular bourbon whiskey?
Yeah, it's just bourbon. They have a bourbon and a rye, so it's either one of those.
Interesting. I guess I need to look at the bottle more.
You don't even know what you're drinking.
I know it's Basil Hayden's and it's good.
All right. Well, we got beers and wagers here. We got Halloween. I got my orange Wolverhampton shirt on. We are talking about Wolverhampton. I got a nice pumpkin stout here from Oddside Ales, just up in Grand Haven, Michigan. So 5 days away from the big day, when everyone eats a bunch of candy. Though I probably eat a bunch of candy every day. I'm still a child. What are you gonna do? But game week 10 in the Premier League. We got a bunch of bets for everyone. Let's get into it here.
Quickly, I want you to think about this during the show. At the end of the show, we'll come up with our best Halloween candy. Like, what's the candy you want to see in the candy sack at the end of the night? So think about it as the show goes. We'll end the show with the number 1 candy. If you're listening on YouTube, I would love to listen or watching on YouTube. I'd love to for someone to weigh in.
There we go. About 30 minutes from now, we'll go over the Halloween treats of game week 10. But we got, first one we're talking about, we got Wolverhampton against Newcastle. This is an interesting one. So Wolverhampton have played their last 3 matches, kind of since they beat Manchester City, with 3 center backs, more of a 3-4-3 kind of formation, a little different. And Newcastle, the big news came down Thursday morning. It's been creeping up on them. Sandro Tonali banned for 10 months from football, from the sport. So he's gone for the season. He's out for the season.
Dude, so he's been busy listening to Kits and Wagers.
Yeah, he's maybe that's. I don't know how many Serie A matches we've done over the years, but either way, they also lost Elliot Anderson, another midfielder. They lost Jacob Murphy. This was on, I think they played Wednesday, and then Alexander Isak, he got injured as well. So they lost a bunch of players. They lost Tonali to a suspension. They're down a bunch of guys. They still have a pretty solid squad. It's just that they don't really have any depth left. So that is the interesting part for this matchup. And maybe one of the reasons the odds have gone a little different here. So October 25th, one day ago, I guess it must have been before their match against Borussia Dortmund. Newcastle was minus 135 in this game. They're now minus 120 to win. This is at Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton are plus 310 to win. The draw is plus 295. And you can get over 2.5 goals at minus 130, under 2.5 goals at plus 105. Chris, we got this Newcastle team. Okay, maybe they got a bunch of issues, but I mean, we look at their possible starting 11 here, and it's still kind of the same guys, more or less. I'd even mention, Fabian or not Fabian Schär. Their other center back is also out. Ben Botman is out. Yeah. So he's been out for a few weeks as well. So that's another absence. But I mean, you look at the squad. Okay, Callum Wilson's in there, Almiron, Joelinton, Anthony Gordon, like all these guys. We know who they are. It's just that their bench just isn't as deep as it has been. So how big of a factor do you think that comes into play now in this game, now that they had, a midweek game against Borussia Dortmund?
I mean, the Tonali stuff is probably the most interesting, given how much they spent on him and how much they depended on him to start and to be their number 8 and to lead in these games. So that's a huge blow. I mean, anytime you spend, what was it, like 80 million pounds or something like that
sounds right,
on a pretty big time midfielder, and he's basically going to miss the rest of the season. That's not great. But you mentioned Isak. Is he confirmed out? He's dealing with an injury.
He's probably going to be out. He re-injured a prior groin injury, and that's usually not good news, is what I'll say, especially when I think there's 4 days between games. So
yeah, the re-injury is never a good sign. But I mean, Callum Wilson can score goals, but I think they're better off with Isak up front. So missing 2 of their starting 11 there. I still think they're really strong out of the back. For me though, it's like I looked. Wolves, a team that I was totally out on to begin the season, and hand up, I definitely, said some mean things about them, that they might get relegated, and at this point, I'm kind of regretting saying that, given the job that they've done. They are going to be at home at the Molyneux, and like Newcastle, I'm looking at their away form here this season. They lost to Man City on August 19th. They lost to Brighton. They did happen to, this was 2 games ago away. They did happen to beat Sheffield United 8-0, if you recall that. And then West Ham, they drew away. Wolves, pretty indifferent. It's been up and down for them at home. But I think that looking at the previous history of their matches here too, Wolves is unbeaten against Newcastle in their last 5 home games against Newcastle. And then even, last season, Wolves not great. They came away with 41 points at the end of the season. 30 of those 41 points they earned at home. So they are a pretty strong side. A little bit, to give it, a smaller sample size, Wolves has taken more points away from home so far this season. But I lean on the fact that Wolves good at home. Newcastle missing a couple guys. Give me Wolves double chance minus 105.
Yeah, I was just I wrote my article today, and that article is going to come up Friday morning. But I actually have another bet on this game in the article, and I didn't even realize it till just now. So maybe I'm losing my head a bit, but that's what happens when you wake up at 2:30 and 5:30 in the morning to deal with a child, but that's just life. So I got 2. Yeah. So I got 2 bets in this game. Check out the article for another one. It's different than both the ones me and Chris are giving out here. I got Newcastle minus 0.75 corners in the first half. So if they get 1 more corner, you get half your money back. But if they get 2 or more corners in the first half, you're gonna get your money. So the worry here is that I looked into the numbers a bit. I believe last season, you're going to have an Arsenal bet later on. Arsenal have the most corners in the league. Yeah. But I was looking at that list earlier. Newcastle are kind of down there in terms of corners. And I believe they won, or they had the most corners in the league last season. That number, I'm not sure the reason why it's not as high as it was. Maybe there's some tough matchups for the first 9 game weeks kind of thing. Maybe, they win 8-0 and don't get in many corners kind of thing. But that part is kind of worrying. But this bet is more into that, okay, Wolves are basically going to be playing off the counter in this game. This is they're going to be playing in this game kind of how they played against Manchester City, kind of how they played against Aston Villa, where, they got these 3 center backs. They're just going to go off the counter. They're going to attack with Hwang and Pedro Neto on the wings and go from there. So far, the last 3 matches, that's worked well. I just think that they're not going to have the ball much. I think Newcastle are going to control possession, and that's going to lead to corners. So that's what I'm leaning with here. I do think that you're getting pretty good odds, I feel like, with -105 on the double chance, just because Newcastle has these absences. They had the midweek match, and we already saw Wolverhampton beat Manchester City at home, drew level with Aston Villa 1-1. I know, okay, maybe that they didn't really control those games by any means, but they're still scoring. It doesn't matter. They're still scoring, kind of what West Ham does to a certain extent. So I like your bet of Wolves double chance there at -105, but I got Newcastle -0.75 corners in the first half at -110.
To back up your corners bet here, Newcastle finished last season with 270 corners, which is 30 more than the next closest team, Manchester City. And then, even looking at it, Wolves are giving up the 5th most amount of corners they're conceding the 5th most amount of corners per game this year too. So, I think there's some logic here that you're using, and I'm curious what I'll have to go. I'll have to go read your article later on tomorrow morning to find out that second bet.
Yeah, it comes out 4 a.m. local time for you, so make sure to get up and
I'll be
click on that
3:55 alarm tomorrow.
Yeah,
just get the coffee going.
Yeah, get that early morning click. That's definitely helpful for the
SEO boost it.
Yeah. Next game we're talking about, we're moving to Sunday. So there's only 4 Saturday games. Last week I think we had 9 or maybe 8 Saturday games. Now we're down to 4. Yeah. Now we've got 2 more Sunday games. Of course, we're talking about the Manchester Derby, but we have another game on Sunday. Aston Villa are home against Luton Town, and these odds have also moved quite a bit, you could say. So October 10th, this was 2 weeks ago, was this middle of the international break. Aston Villa were -270 to win this game. So if you were during that international break, look at headlines, you're like, oh, look at this, -270 Aston Villa. Feels great. They're at home. Now they're at -350. That line actually was -390 a few days ago. So I'm not sure why it went down, but Aston Villa -350. Again, you can compare odds at 4 different sports books at RotoWire. Just go to the sports betting page in soccer. You can find that there. Luton Town to win, +900. Draw is +500. And this one has some goals expected. So over 2.5 goals is -190. Over 3.5 goals is +130. And what do we want? Under 2.5 goals, +150. Under 3.5 goals, -160. Aston Villa have been dominant at home. I think all season, at least recently, they've been pretty dominant. They also put out almost an A squad. I know Yuri Tielemans started today, but they put out pretty much an A squad. I know Ollie Watkins scored. I think they got 4 goals, maybe 3, something like that against AZ Alkmaar in their Europa Conference League game. So they're cruising right now. What do you think in this one? Aston Villa cruise mode, 3 goals, 4 goals again, or
I think
Luton Town, something else? Yeah.
No, I think you're right here. It's this. I think it could be a shellacking in favor of Aston Villa. You mentioned how good have they been at home? They've been 12 points out of 12 points at home so far this season. They lead all teams with 17 goals scored at home over 4 matches. They've conceded just 3, giving them the top goal differential with a goal differential of 14 goals. So they've been, as you mentioned, they've been really good. Luton Town, conceding goals a bit here, and I think you're right here. I wrote down a number of Aston Villa bets, but I think I had Aston Villa winning over 2.5. But I can't recall what made it on the graphic here. If you want to roll to the next screen, but all things considered, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't have that. I have both teams scored no draw +100. Okay, well, this is where you write. You're looking through the through the match, and you see about 5 bets you like that are related to Aston Villa. I have both teams to score no draw. I do think Luton can get a goal here. they've been able to score goals away from home too. So it should be interesting. They did just draw Nottingham Forest 2-2. They've had some tough matches. They lost to Burnley 2-1. And then did beat Everton. That was away from home 2-1 as well. So they have been able to score. Got shut out by Tottenham, but I think at the very least, Aston Villa should score over, at least 2-3 goals here. And there's a number of bets that I would take here, but I'll get into those after you give us your bet here.
Yeah, when we're talking about the home games, I actually just I was trying to scroll back through their home matches this season because I feel like I may have given out a money line bet in all their previous home matches. I was telling you, I did remove the Aston Villa money line bet last week against West Ham, though I still took it personally. But I know I had them against Brighton, and I did take them against Crystal Palace as well about a month ago. I'm wondering if I took them home against Everton at the beginning of the season, which is possible. So I've basically taken Aston Villa money line through their first 4 home league matches. The one match they lost in the cup against Everton, they started John McGinn at left back. Den Donker started that one. So it's just a weird lineup, nothing to put much into. But obviously with the minus 350, got to be a little different here. So I'm taking a different route with Aston Villa money line up to the 30th minute. So they've had a bunch of games this season where they're scoring in, before the 30th minute. And Luton Town, I'm not sure what to expect from Luton Town here. I'm actually going to go back to our screen if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter. They got a bunch of defensive injuries. So a couple of their top center backs, we haven't heard from their manager yet in terms of who's actually going to be healthy, but I'm not sure Reece Burke or Amari Bell are going to be back. They're already without Madsule Anderson. So Daniel Potts as well, but that's basically a bunch of their center backs. So they changed their formation. They had 4 defenders against Nottingham Forest last match. I know they got a point, but they were kind of dominated in the first half. They were down 2-0, and then Nottingham Forest played pretty bad and gave up 2 goals to lose 3 points there. But, I mean, you could see this Luton Town back line, they were starting 3 center backs pretty much all season and last season. And now because of injury, they went to 2 center backs last match, and they have this guy, Ted Mengi, who might be their 5th or 6th option at center back, expected to start in this one. I just think that the way that Aston Villa are rolling right now, Ollie Watkins is, some of the best form in the world, at least in the league. He's cruising. He did, as I said, he scored today once again, but Aston Villa money line up to the 30th minute.
I love it. Yeah.
You're in?
Yeah, there was a few. I remember why I didn't take the bet that I initially, because it was minus 135, and we don't do minus 135. But if you wanted to lean on something like that, I mean, Aston Villa win and over 2.5 is minus 135. That's a lovely bet. You can get Aston Villa minus 1.5. That's minus 135. I like that. I think the Kids and Wagers podcast is all over Aston Villa here in this match. Aston Villa or tie and over 3.5 goals. That a little bit more of a stretch. You're getting plus 100 odds there.
Tie, come on.
And yeah, I mean that's just it's double chance, or you're covering your bases there. But an over 3.5 is plus 100. So I think all in all we're both on it. I'm I think yours is a bit better bet here. Kind of wish I had it myself, but I think we just need Luton Town to find the back of the net, and kind of looking at that too. You even consider the fact that they've won 4 games at home, and in 3 of the 4 matches they've conceded a goal to Palace, Brighton, and West Ham.
Yeah. I mean their backline still has some issues. We know Tyrone Mings is out. Their backline has issues, but they are scoring. So which is if you can score 4 goals in every game, that's kind of more important. But you mentioned 2 or 3 goals. What do you think about over 2.5 goals for Aston Villa at plus 105?
I mean, they have 17 goals in 4 games at home. That's given that, I would say yes.
Yeah.
I think sure. I would,
sure.
In terms of my confidence, I'm at like a 75% confidence in that. Luton's been giving up a fair amount of goals, I feel like, too. So
yeah, I mean they're fighting relegation for a reason.
They've given up the joint most goals given up so far away from home. They've given up 11 goals in 5 matches.
Yeah, well, that's
Tied
not
with Bournemouth. So
that's okay.
yeah, not
Yeah,
terrible.
I pulled up some numbers. Aston Villa scored in the 13th minute and the 23rd minute today against West Ham. They scored in the 30th minute. These are all their first goals. Home against Brighton, they scored in the 14th and 21st minute. So just a lot of examples of Aston Villa scoring early in these games, even away from home. I guess one side of it you could look at. Okay, well they were, they're in Netherlands, whatever, and today, so maybe they're not going to be ready for this, but I don't know. They're used to it. I went back even further. Sorry, I'm just going to keep going here. They scored in the 18th minute and 24th minute against Everton in their. Maybe that wasn't the opener. That was their second. That was their home opener. 17th minute against Hibernian. 8th minute, 20th minute against Burnley. Again against Hibernian. John Duran in the 11th minute. So, I mean, maybe I could have looked at these numbers before the show, but it seems like of their 15 matches they've scored in the first before the 30th minute mark, maybe 8 or 9 times.
I've just raised my confidence level to 87%.
There you go. That's what I was hoping to get above that 80% mark there. Yeah. Once again, I got Aston Villa money line up to the 30th minute. That's plus 120. Chris has both teams to score, no draw, plus 100. Did you actually look into what if you do just like an Aston Villa to win, same game parlay, Aston Villa to win and over 2.5 goals?
It's out there. I can find it.
Actually, it's not as good as I thought. So it's minus 150.
Yeah, I think that's on the same page as the double chance bets.
I mean, that's basically both teams to score, no draw. So clearly your bet is better. I'm confused at why those odds are. All right. I guess the 2-2 result, but I don't know. Like if you think that both teams to score and Aston Villa are going to win, I'm thinking about this wrong. I didn't put both teams to score in this bet. That's what it was wrong. That's what we have to do. I figured it out.
Okay. Anywho, the Kids and Wagers podcast is all over Aston Villa here.
All right. Everyone came for the Manchester Derby. We'll get to it.
The main event.
Manchester United, our home against Manchester City. Look at the odds here. They've been up and down. Manchester United were plus 330 over the international break. They're now plus 390 to win. A lot of that has to do with some recent struggles. But Manchester City to win currently minus 140. And then you got the draw at plus 295. Over 2.5 goals, minus 140. Under 2.5 goals, plus 110. We should get Casemiro back into the starting 11. We'll see. He actually trained. I think he returned to training on Tuesday or maybe even Monday, but he was suspended in Champions League, so he couldn't play in that game. He stayed in Brazil for their game last weekend. So there's a chance he could be back in there. I think that's the main one. Otherwise, I don't know if anyone else is returning. They've been pretty beat up. Sergio Reguilón returned to the starting 11 in their Champions League match against Copenhagen. And then Christian Eriksen won man of the match after coming in at halftime in their game. Otherwise, Manchester City, pretty healthy here. They rotated a bit in their game at Young Boys, so these guys should be all pretty healthy, and it should be close to the A squad here for Manchester City minus Kevin De Bruyne. But minus 140, this actually moved down. I'm not sure why it moved down. Maybe someone bet big on Manchester United today, because I actually saw minus 150 when I was looking at this. If this creeps even lower to minus 130, like why don't we just take Manchester City to win at minus 130?
That'd be a no-brainer. I thought that immediately looking at that. I was like, oh, minus one. This is just outside of what I would take. Otherwise I would have smashed Man City money.
Who's betting Manchester United right now?
I don't know.
Yeah, you just look at all of Manchester United's results, and it's just really hard to take them. I mean, we could be like, oh well, this is a rivalry, this is a derby, so throw those out the window. But they kind of struggled against Copenhagen. They kind of struggled against
They were
Sheffield
lucky.
United.
They were lucky not to draw that game. Didn't Onana save he saved a PK like really late on?
He saved a PK late. They had Copenhagen had many chances in the first half. Scott McTominay had the brace and stoppage time against Brentford. These are their last 3 matches, and now they're playing against Manchester City. Is something going to change here? What do you think about this game?
I think I'm going to go with the old adage. If Manchester City's playing, you should probably take them for obvious reasons. I'm looked at this one, but I think initially, I think Adam and I had a similar bet, so I had to go a little bit off of it because great minds think alike. We don't want to double up on bets, but you look at it. You look at who's leading the Premier League once more in goals. There's some whispers, maybe not even whispers, of like, is Haaland having a down season? He's leading the league with 9 goals right now. So I'm on. You can get Haaland. I think anytime straight up was minus 135. So if you think he's going to score a goal, which I think he's going to score a goal, and then taking the over 2.5, I do believe this match will definitely be over 2.5 goals. If you want to parlay that with something elsewhere that you like, I would do that too. But you can get that at plus 115. So the Haaland anytime goal scorer and over 2.5 is plus 115. But like you look at the previous couple games here, and I mean, I think United win last year. I think they won at home.
Yeah, January 14th, 2-1.
Yeah. They won on my birthday, but they 2-1 at home, as you mentioned. Then they lost 6-3 at Man City, 4-1 to Man City. That was also at home for Man City the season before. So there's been plenty of goals. It's hard to believe that just given the way that City or given the way that United is kind of defending, I mean, they've leaned on some old horses, and I feel like Man City will be able to exploit that. The only real blip that we saw from City this season has been that three match span where they were missing Rodri. Other than that, it's like, pretty much business as usual. So it's like harder with him back in the lineup. Pretty much everyone that they'd normally start aside from Kevin De Bruyne, just give me Man City and odds, and I'll roll that way.
Are you worried at all about that 2-1 result? The last time this was at Old Trafford, this matchup.
I think naturally you have to be a little worried. But
are you worried that both of our bets involve over 2.5 goals, and this could be like a 2-0 result?
I think it's I mean. You can't ask me if I'm worried anymore. Yeah, I might be a little.
Yeah, okay. I'm worried about my bet. All right, sorry.
Jesus. But no, I mean, I think we see a few goals here. I still think United can beat City's back line. It's not like they've been invincible so far. I mean, yes, they've only I think 2 goals so far in the Premier League, but otherwise, I think they're gonna have to at least score once, and then let Haaland do the rest.
I think you look at it like. Okay, we can look at that prior matchup last January. The middle of last season when Erik ten Hag was going, they were playing well. They were playing well defensively. They were getting opportunities. They weren't maybe scoring as many goals as they should have, but they were actually playing well. I can't remember the last time this season Manchester United were playing well. I mean, I'm scrolling through the results. Like, what do we I don't even know if they played well at any point this season. They've had issues. They've struggled to find the correct players in the lineup. Antony missed a few weeks there. He's now back in the starting 11 because they can't find a winger on the opposite side of Rashford. Martial has a bunch of starts. Højlund, I'm not sure he's ready to be that top-notch striker just yet for them. You scroll through the results, it's like, okay, well, all these wins are all kind of iffy. Like, they beat Wolverhampton. I think that was in the opener where Wolverhampton kind of outplayed them in the second half, if I remember correctly. They gave up 2 early goals in Nottingham Forest. They had to come back to win that one 3-2. I mean, just all these results in here. And then we already mentioned the 3 recent wins where they kind of, scratched by and somehow made it. Maybe that's great to an extent, but you're not playing well. I don't like. Can you not play well and scratch out a win or a draw against Manchester City? I just don't think that's going to happen here. So I'm getting into my bet. I got a single game parlay as well. This is Manchester City money line with over 2.5 goals. That's plus 120. Because these odds have changed, I'm actually gonna I'm actually going to see if I can actually get better odds here while we're talking, because as I said, the odds have changed for some reason. So I'm actually going to put this in right now. It's actually plus 125. So I'm getting plus 125 on this one, just for future reference there. So we're both on Manchester City money line, basically, and we're both on. Okay, you're not on Manchester City money line.
I mean, I think they'll win, or I would, if I had to pick, Man United or Man City, I would pick Man City. But the bet I had, but it's too similar to Adams, is tired Man City double chance and over 2.5. It's minus 125. If you're like, maybe United might pull a draw here, you get worse odds, but a little bit of peace of mind on the draw.
Do you have a score prediction for this one?
3-1 City.
That's what I was going to say. All right. Well, I think they're going to go up a couple goals, and I think United will get one back off a counter or something stupid, and then City will close them off with another. I think 3-1, something like that, is a good call there. So there you go. Double single game parlays there. Chris has Haaland as an anytime goal scorer with over 2.5 goals is plus 115. I have Manchester City money line with over 2.5 goals. That is plus 125. Chris, we got to get it back here. It's team parlay time. We got to get it back. Last week we had the same bet, or we bet on the same match. It was Aston Villa against West Ham. Chris went with the numbers. He took West Ham double chance. It didn't work out. I believe I grabbed under 1.5 goals and Aston Villa over 3.5 corners. We only needed 45 minutes for that bet to hit. It was a great bet. So you're welcome, everyone, for winning you money on that one. But Chris, we mentioned Arsenal a little bit here. You got a corner bet for us.
Yeah, I do. So last week, and just to back I took West Ham double chance away to Aston Villa. They were unbeaten their last 10.
That was a mistake.
It was a mistake. I'm not salty at all. But anyways, back to this week. Back to last week, actually. Last week I mentioned I took the Arsenal race to 3 corners. That hit. I'm back to the Arsenal corner well, baby. This might be something like similar to what we were taking with the Newcastle corners last year, where they just dominated in the sense of corners. So far, they're leading the Premier League in corners by quite a fair. I think it's by 14 total corners. I'll double check. They are facing, is it Sheffield United? Yes, yeah. Sheffield United. Arsenal.
Come on, know your opponent.
Sorry, dude. I got a lot of things in my face here. But anyways, the over-under is set at 7.5 corners. As I mentioned, Arsenal is averaging a little bit over. I think they're averaging 8.4 corners a match. They're playing a Sheffield United team who is conceding the second most corners in the Premier League. So that leads me to say, let's take the Arsenal over 7.5 corners for the game, and just keep it rolling, and keep rolling on the Arsenal corners.
Are you worried that Sheffield United showed some life last match?
No, I'm not.
Was it because it was against Manchester United? We just bashed them for 5 minutes?
Which you were bashing. I was indifferent.
Sorry.
We were bashing for sure, unfortunately. I don't know. I'm not really too worried. Arsenal has looked really strong, and I think they'll be fine. So it's a lot of corners.
It's a lot of corners.
It is a ton of corners, but 8 is just enough for this to hit. And Arsenal's been averaging eight corners a game. So I didn't double check to see what they had last weekend against Chelsea, but they had 3 within like 25 minutes.
Yeah, they finished with 2 actually. No, I'm just kidding.
Watch the RotoWire stat sheet go up.
I think they had 7. I want to say they finished with 7. I think I had a bet that had over 9.5 or under 9.5 or under 10.5 or something. And I want to say it was 7-2 overall, but you'd have to double check those numbers. So I'm looking at, this is a corners team parlay. I'm looking at Brighton here. I think there's some hate going around. Maybe not hate's not the right word, but I think there's some, bad blood, bad bad tones going towards Brighton because they've had a very difficult schedule. I know they're another one of these teams with a bunch of injuries. Solomon March has been added to the list. Danny Welbeck's added to the list as well. So definitely things to worry about. But the big thing I want to point out when giving this bet is while they've struggled somewhat in recent league games, they were at Aston Villa. They're home against Liverpool, where they actually got a point. Then they're at Manchester City, where they almost got a point. They came back and played that second half pretty solidly. Now they're against a Fulham team that have no life, have shown nothing for at least the past month. I'm not really high on them at all. And the lone worry here is that I would have had some kind of Brighton to win, some kind of bet like that. But Fulham beat them twice last season. Either way, I'm going Brighton -1 corner in the first half. That's -125. So I just think they're at home. I think they're going to have more opportunities. I think they're going to have possession a ton. That Fulham-Tottenham game is kind of fresh in my mind where they kind of look toothless. That's something Chris likes to say. They look toothless. They didn't do too much. They went down a couple goals and they didn't really pressure much. Maybe they had a couple chances, but just taking here. Brighton -1 corner in the first half, -125. Chris's side of the parlay, Arsenal over 7.5 corners at -115. We're getting plus 236 odds there. What do you think? I think this is our first ever corners parlay.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think I can remember taking, like, this might be my third corner bet ever. I usually try to let let it breathe with the Adam show here, but here we are, corners and wagers.
Once you hit one, you can't go back.
Yeah, it's just like incredibly addicting, corners bets only.
I think it is addicting. All right, let's pull up our cheat sheet here as we get going. RotoWire.com/soccer trial. That's a 48-hour trial. And you get this cheat sheet. We got expected lineups. If you're into expected lineups, if you play So Rare or if you bet, if you play FPL, I'm doing an early 9 a.m. Eastern show Friday morning, tomorrow morning, and I'm going to go over my thoughts of injuries and projected lineups for all these teams. So if you want to hear me ramble on for 30 minutes about lineups, I got the show for you. So check that out Friday morning. That'll come after my betting article. So read my betting article, watch the lineups video. But here are the odds here, Chris. Do you have any other thoughts for the slate? We just talked about Arsenal a little bit, but of course we got to talk about Liverpool. They're home against Nottingham Forest. 3 goals for Liverpool. Mohamed Salah, goal and assist, or what do we want? What are we thinking here?
Man, Salah's in good form right now. Came on. I don't even know why he came on today. Scored again, but I think over 2.5 was -115. I was just taking a peek at that. Yeah, -115. At home against Nottingham Forest, that seems pretty doable. The one that I kind of like is team clean sheet. Liverpool clean sheet is +115.
Liverpool clean sheet? You think they're going to keep a clean sheet? Come on.
Why not? There's 2 teams that are currently tied with them in goals conceded, and that is who is it?
No.
Yes.
Come on. That's because they allow 1 goal every match.
Well,
I don't believe it.
At home, Liverpool's conceded 2 goals. Tottenham's conceded 2 goals at home. Man City 2 goals at home. Okay. There you go. They're good at home.
2 goals in 4 matches. They held Aston Villa and Everton scoreless. Okay.
Aston Villa, we got done, praising them. Everton, don't need to touch on because it's not worth it.
That's just a bad day.
It was a bad day for Sheffield United. Like, come on.
Unai Emery had a stomach bug and he wasn't feeling good, so I'm throwing that one out.
All right. You're right. Good call.
But yeah, RotoWire.com/soccer trial. Here we go. Check out my article coming up Friday morning. It has 5 bets in it. Yep, there's a secret bet in there. You actually have to read the article to find the secret bet. I'm doing that for all the RotoWire fans and all the Kits and Wagers fans as well. But Chris, you got anything else for Game Week 10?
Yeah, I got something. I got the most important item of this.
Let's go. Oh, that's right, candy.
Yeah, Halloween candy coming up. Is it Tuesday or Wednesday? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
we're 5 days from now.
Okay,
Whatever
5 days
day
from
that
now, whatever
is.
day
We
that
can
is.
we can calculate. That's Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday. My favorite candy. I mean, as a kid, it was those little Nerds boxes. Those were amazing. You like open them up.
You're gonna come at me and say nerds are your
No,
favorite?
let me finish. Let me finish. Now, when I was a kid, it was the Nerds boxes, but now I swear, if you get those little fun size Snickers, you get a bag of those. You could go down. You could put like a 20-piece down of those little fun size Snickers.
I thought you were gonna be like, but if you mix nerds with the fun size Snickers, that is awesome.
Then I would be even more of a psycho than I already am.
Yeah, that's classic. Snickers is classic. My go-to is just always Reese's. I'm a big peanut butter and chocolate fan. Like you can't. I think we talk about Christmas cookies. We talked about the Buckeyes, chocolate and peanut butter. You just can't go wrong with it. But I already got some Halloween candy in my house, and I opened up. There's a Kit Kat flavor. It's called Witch's Brew. I want to say, Witch's something. And it's green, but it's like marshmallow. Instead of chocolate on the outside, it's like a marshmallow Kit Kat, which tasted really good. I mean, it was the first time I ever had it, so I don't know if it can be my favorite, but I'm a big marshmallow fan as well. So I'll say Reese's, but for 2023, I'll say the special Witch's Brew Kit Kat.
Wow, that's left field there, but I like it. I mean,
this is left field as you talking about nerds, but
dude, as a kid, when you open up those little boxes of Nerds and you just chug it,
I agree. That's
sugar buzzed up.
I haven't done that in a while. I might just buy some Nerds in the next few days and do that. I think I'm actually gonna get some and then drop a few boxes before our next show and see what happens.
Yeah, do it. You won't do it.
Probably not. I gotta go out and find the actual Nerds boxes to actually do it. So that's another task in itself. But you can find Chris at CHROwen8 on Twitter. I am at RotoZdroik. You can also follow RotoWire Soccer at RotoWire Soccer. This is game week 10 in the Premier League. As I said, we got my article coming up Friday morning. Got a bunch of other stuff coming up as well. RotoWire.com/soccer. Check all that out. Chris, thank you for the show. Let's go 8-0 this week. I'm feeling pretty good about this week. I think there's going to be a lot of winners here between us.
Hope so. Cheers, Adam.